Hey everyone, what is good and going on with you guys? I hope you're doing well. I hope this new year has been very good to you so far. So in today's video, I'm doing a simple skull makeup look. It is paint and eyeshadow. It is water-based paints, and I chose this because most of the time, water-based paints are easily available at most craft stores, even if it's not in the Halloween season. And so I hope you enjoy it. Hang back with me and let's just get into the footage. To start this look, I'm taking an eyeliner pencil and I'm mapping out the bone structure according to the shape of my face and the reference photo that I'm using. You can use any color that you like to map out this on your face. I chose to go with a darker color because the white pencil was old and was not sliding along the skin. But keep in mind when you're doing this look and mapping it out, you want to also use the natural contours of your face along with the reference photo. I am mapping out the orbital bone a little bit higher over the eyebrow because I want to paint that black and hide it more in the black paint instead of blocking my eyebrows out and making it white. And using a reference photo along with filling the bone structure on your face will give you reference to how the bones are shaped in the face, but also touching your face will let you know where you need to put your markers down. When it sinks in, you'll feel that up underneath the orbital bone as well as around the jawline. The white paint that I'm using today comes from Walmart, and it is the paint that you find in the Halloween section during season. I am using a very light layer of paint at this point because it does get a little bit streaky, but I wanted to be sure that I mapped out and tight lined where the dark lines were when I mapped out my face, and having a small amount on a brush lets you do that. When I go in and do a second coat of the white paint, it also covers up most of the brush strokes in the paint itself. If you find that you still have brush strokes in the paint, you can actually take a damp blender sponge and tap that out a little bit, but be mindful not to do it when it is dry because these are water-based paints and it will bring the paint up off the face. At this point, I'm not too worried about the brown lines that I can see because I'm going to tight line that with black a little bit later. So the skull that I decided to do today requires to have more teeth along the jawline instead of just on the front up under the nose, and I wanted to practice creating teeth along the curve of the face, so that's the reason why I chose to do this look today. And here I am going in with a second layer of white paint to cover up the brush strokes and the makeup. For more dimension in my look, I decided to water down my white paint with a little bit of water on my palette and mix that in so you can see the slight difference in the opacity between the skull paint and then the teeth paint. So as teeth are fitted into the socket of the bone structure of the skull, I make sure that the top of the teeth are a little bit pointed than they are toward the bottom. So they get smaller at the top and they come a little bit wider in the bottom, and they come to a cross of being flat on the end. So just constantly look at your own teeth and try to mimic the same thing. In creating the bottom teeth, I do the same thing to where the bottom would fit into the socket of the jawline, so the bottom of the teeth get more narrow and they go up and get wider and flat. With the diluted paint, I continue to color in the teeth because I want the teeth on the outside to be in a shadow as it pulls and curves around the face, because the teeth that I'm going to draw on the front, because of the bone that I have in the double layer, will be a little bit more white, so I wanted to add dimension to where those teeth in the front are more white so they move forward, and anything I want to push back into the shadow has contour and different shades and shadows on it. Going in with a smaller brush and my black paint, I tight line around the areas to cover up the outline that I put down before I actually color in the rest of the area black. I paint the eyebrow, and I also give a small coating of paint over the eyelash area, being sure not to cover up any of the waterline in your look because you will clog pores in your eyelash line, and you do not want that happening. You see I go through and I have to create one side to match the other, so it's okay to tight line and add a little bit more depth in order for both eye sockets to match. And I be sure to paint both of my ears to make those disappear into this look because the skull does not have ears on it. And going through, I paint the nose and the nostrils. As you can see here, I switch brushes for a more finer line. In smaller areas, my brushes will go smaller to help me control the paint. Without touching my face or putting an elbow onto the table in order to help me control my brush, I put my arm over my body and I use that for an anchor. If you feel between your jawline, between your upper and lower jaw, you do have this space, so I'm painting that black, and I'm going through with a smaller brush and painting black between the teeth in order to separate them and give them more dimension. When it comes to placing the color in between the teeth, I want to have a dark line between the top and the bottom, as well as spaces between the teeth to give them more dimension so you can see them better. So just take your time when doing this. Using a black eyeshadow for contour, I go through and I place that close to the dark spots of the makeup, so that that's coming off the bone at the very beginning is darker, and I want the area that you can feel around your cheekbones that are elevated to be white. So I just take my time and I contour around my nose, the jaw, around the top of the skull, and I continue to slowly add layers in, working very easily with a light touch because this paint is water based, and a brush stroke from a brush can actually start to flake it off, so just be careful when you're going through. I'm using a fluffier brush to buff those colors out so it's not a stark line, and as you see, I already placed the teeth in the front, and I took eyeshadow to put teeth down, and I referenced by opening up my lip and making sure that I had the two bigger teeth in the front, and I continue to carry that off of the bone until it reaches the smaller part of the teeth going in the jawline. And you can see I define that with more eyeshadow by making the top of the teeth more pointed and going in with a light gray. I buff in more color around the shadow that I already have. I want not to be just stark black and white, but I wanted more shadow and shading, so I did pick a gray to use on this. The palette that I'm using is the Baroque palette from ColourPop. I'm buffing in some gray around the teeth on the jawline that goes from the front to the back, as I want it to be lighter to darker as it goes toward the curve into the skull. To separate the top teeth from the bottom, I go through with black paint again and tight line in between. I also go through to make separations between the teeth in the front, so just keeping it darker when it moves toward the front and making it lighter when it goes toward the back. I also have a missing tooth in this skull, as you see by the darkest line in the front of the teeth. So this is just something that you can do, just whatever you want this to look like. If you want your teeth to be really big in the front, really small in the front, it's a matter of creating the space in between with a dark paint and then bleeding that out from shadow from the forward. It is stark, it's darker, the teeth are whiter, and the shading and the shadow bleed out toward the area that has the less light in the curvature of the bone structure of the face. With the white paint, I go through with a wash of water and white paint to dilute that and put a little bit more details around the top of the sockets of the teeth, and making sure that those teeth in the front are more white than the teeth that are going along the curve of the skull. I go through, and my reference photo had a couple of cracks into the skull itself. I didn't concentrate this too much throughout the look, but if you really wanted this to be old and look very worn and brittle and dry, you could put cracks all over the skull, into the teeth. And guys, I am sorry about that sports bra strap being all twisted. It is, trust me, it is bothering me like you wouldn't believe, so sorry about that. To cover my neck and my shoulders, I go in with my black paint and on a sponge to cover more surface area. Here is the final look. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial today. I know it's a bit different that I didn't work with blood or prosthetics. I wanted there to be something for everyone on my channel, whether you're working with cream paints, grease, metallic, or water-based paints. I wanted there to be something that everyone can use at their skill level or to hone skills. So thank you for hanging out with me today. I sure do appreciate it. Please tag me in your looks if you're going to be using this tutorial. I'd love to see what you guys come up with. And if you'd like to vote on my next look, see sneak peeks or behind the scenes footage, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter. Those links are below. And again, thank you for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.